Not everybody on the earth, even at that time, didn't do it. There was only a handful of men that was righteous. It's always been that way. Solomon said, out of 1,000 men, I find one. He said, then out of 1,000 women, I find none. Meaning, men ain't supposed to be in the head of the woman. A lot of women is wicked. That's what Solomon was saying. Men and women is wicked, but he said, at least out of the wicked men, you can find one good, decent brother. That's what he was saying. But amongst the sisters, you couldn't find it. That's what he said. Solomon, the wisest. Right, let me say that. If you read that verse again, Malachi 2:7.
For the priest's lips should keep note.
So according to the scriptures, we had priests. What was a priest? Well, who was the priest?
It was the tribe of Levi.
Right, what was their job?
Well, I believe that the high priest was the one who used the ornament tool to talk to God.
Okay, it's the Urim and Thummim. That's what he's referring to.
Okay.
Now I understand what he's saying.
Okay.
But the ornament, it's the Urim and the Thummim.
So
hold on, give me Deuteronomy 33 and verse.
How to pronounce it again? How to pronounce it?
Deuteronomy. Oh, the Urim and Thummim.
Okay.
Thummim. Oh, it could be that too. Potatoes, right? Now read this. But you said the Urim and what are you talking about? Read this.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 8. And Levi said, let the Thummim and the Urim be with thy holy works.
So that was what Levi had. The Thummim and the Urim, right? Read it again.
And Levi said, let the Thummim and the Urim be with thy holy works, whom these approve of Master, and with whom thou didst strive at the waters of Meribah.
So question, what was it used for? Those were instruments that they had that was used to connect with who? With the Most High. That was what the priests had. Okay? Not just any priest, it was the high priest. Right? So read it again.
And Levi, let thy Thummim and thy Urim be with the holy one.
Now hold that, get Genesis 49th chapter and about Levi. Now watch this. So what we're going to read to you, brother, is that tribe would not have that in the last days. Watch this.
The book of Genesis chapter 49, verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation.
So at one point in time, my brother, that plane go by. Read it again.
Simeon and Levi are brethren.
So the Levites used to Thummim and Urim, right? But in the last days, read Genesis 49 and 1. I'm sorry, just give me the Genesis 49 and 1.
The book of Genesis chapter 49, verse 5. Simeon,
Verse 1.
verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last day.
In what time?
The last day.
Biblically, when was considered the last days?
I'm not sure.
Good. The last days is when Christ rose on the scene and died. From that time all the way to now, that will be considered the last days. Just to make you understand, you have in the event of the last days, you have the beginning of the last, the middle of the last, and the end of the last. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Right, if I say...
The end of the movie.
Right, exactly. So the beginning of the last day, exactly, look at it as a movie. It's AD, that when Christ died on the scene and he died, that started the last days. So the last days itself is a time period. Right now, we are in the end of the last time right now. That's what we're in right now. You understand? This is where Armageddon may come through. This is where all these other events may come through in this time.
Verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations.
So the instruments of cruelty in the last days that Levi would use would be witchcraft. That's what that's going into. Because today, witchcraft is also a tool that they try to use to communicate with who? With the spirits. They call right, but in the time past, what was it before? Urim and Thummim. Does that make sense? Okay, good. I hope it's clear.
It makes sense. It's kind of like if God gives you like fire extinguisher instead of glorify your face.
Exactly.
Right.
They used it in the wrong and evil. Now read Malachi 2 and 7.
A whole lot of stuff.
Yes. Now Malachi 2 and 7. Remember, the Levites, the priests, were the, let's say, the mediums between us and the Father in the Old Testament. When Moses came down, he was what tribe?
Same old story. Absolute power of God.
Yeah, but it wasn't that it was absolute power. You're right, but they were also breaking the commandments. Now, when Moses came down, what did he give us?
Commandments.
Right. Who did he make the priest? Aaron, his brother. Aaron was the priest. Everyone that came through Aaron's lineage, his sons, were priests. But you know what they started doing? Breaking the commandments. Even Aaron himself, what did he do? He made the what? The golden calf. He made the golden calf. So the Most High told Aaron, the Most High told Moses to make Aaron the priest, but even he himself was perfect. It wasn't perfect. This is why Christ comes on the scene. A lot of y'all don't understand. The reason why Jesus Christ came on the scene is because the Levites fell. They wasn't using the Urim and Thummim. You follow me? Now read on.
The book of Malachi chapter 2 verse 7. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge.
The priests, their job was to keep knowledge. The brother explained, knowledge is the commandments of the Lord. For example, if I went to the tabernacle or the temple, let's say, the priest's job was to teach us. Very similar today, how you see these pastors. They're supposed to teach us the laws of God. Pastors are not doing that today. Pastors are talking about prosperity and money.
And do whatever you want.
Yes, come as you are. That's against what the priest was supposed to do.
That's why I don't walk into it.
Yeah, me neither. Read this.
And they should keep the law out his mouth. For he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts.
He is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. The word messenger in the Hebrew is Malachi. That's what the word Malachi means, messenger. Okay?
But ye are departed out of the way.
You are departed, the Levites, priests, departed out of the way. So if the leader departs, what happens to the followers? They're going to depart. So if they was in charge of the 12 tribes of Israel as the priests, and they departed, that means the whole nation of Israel followed after their ways. Then the Israelites fell.
Right. Hold on.
Ye have caused many to stumble at the law.
You hear that? You have caused, read it again.
Ye have caused many to stumble at the law.
You have caused many to stumble at the law. The priest was supposed to make sure we was right. For example, can you eat pork? No. Watch this. Hold on. Read this. Go to Leviticus 11 and verse 1. When it say, when Moses spoke. Watch this. Remember, law. It's about keeping the law. Remember that.
The book of Leviticus chapter 11 verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron.
Say that? Did you hear that?
No.
Read it again. I need you to read it clearly.
The book of Leviticus chapter 11 verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses.
And the Lord spake unto Moses
And to Aaron.
How did that happen? And the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron. That means they were what? The priests. They were in charge. Aaron was the priest. Moses went to who? The Most High. He went to the mountain of Sinai, remember? And he would tell Moses, this is what you're supposed to do. He would tell Moses. Moses then would tell who? Aaron. And Aaron's job as the priest would teach the people. Follow me? It was a chain of command. It wasn't just anybody could talk to God, because that's another common misconception of atheists. They'll say things like, if God talked to people, why he don't talk to us now? It never worked like that. He didn't speak to everybody. He spoke to the prophets, and then the prophets delivered the message. That's how it worked. To be a prophet, you must have been keeping what? The commandments and the statutes and the laws and the testimonies. You had to keep all of that. You understand? Not everybody on the earth, even at that time, didn't do it. There was only a handful of men that was righteous. It's always been that way. Solomon said, out of 1,000 men, I find one. He said, then out of 1,000 women, I find none. Meaning, men ain't supposed to be in the head of the woman. A lot of women is wicked. That's what Solomon was saying. Men and women is wicked, but he said, at least out of the wicked men, you can find one good, decent brother. That's what he was saying. But amongst the sisters, you couldn't find it. That's what he said. Solomon, the wisest. Because when you read the Bible, you don't read too many female characters that was righteous. It's a handful. It's more men than women in the Bible that was righteous. That ain't no feminism thing or no chauvinist, whatever that crap they call it. That's just real rap. That's real talk.
What is a nation?
Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.